Alright guys, RC Speedster 100 here. Just a quick video, an update on the Traxxas Rustler Nitro Tube Rustlers. Alright guys, same one I had, different body. That body I destroyed. Yeah, I just wanted to really test out this transmission I built for the Nitro cars. Everybody always had a problem with the idler gear. Well, I built my own. So in my last video I showed a photo of it. A lot of people have been asking about it, and I've been taking this thing off-roading and really going to town with it. And well, I changed a couple things around, put the normal shock towers back on. I did put a little wheelie bar on it just because it was really pulling wheelies. Yeah, it's really quick to make that one. This is a Fortec arm, and just there you go. Works perfect. Drill the hole, bolt it in place. But that's just kind of a little crazy thing I did for that. No reason to do it. But yeah, so everybody's been asking me how to do this. It's pretty simple, I guess, if you have some kind of knowledge on it. And like I said, if you saw my last video, making the motor mount for it is pretty simple. Just pop the body off. And there you go. So like I said, this one, like I said, this is a different motor mount I put together, but the last video I showed you buying that motor mount from, I think, a Team Associates, and HPI has one. It works fine. This one, obviously, again, we're gonna have to modify a little bit, maybe drill the holes a little bigger, either way. But this one's modified to where I can actually fit a 40 can motor with bigger in it, actually. Again, as you can tell, it's smooth as butter and works really well. I mean, like I said, I took this thing through its paces, so now I turned it into a street basher. Basically, a lot of fun. I lowered the hell out of it. Lowering, again, front shocks, just put your, everybody does everything different. I just put, what was it, vacuum hose, shorten the shocks out. You can do it either way, or buy the shocks that fit that. It's either way. I was just doing that as a basher car. Again, the rears, I use the rear springs, but front shocks, works perfect. Wheelie bar does actually work, as you can tell. It was a brand new wheel. So, anyways, back to the transmission. There you go. This is pretty self-explanatory and not really expensive. And this transmission becomes really pretty much bulletproof. So, 32 pitch gearing. That's what they are. Alright, your idler gear is 32 pitch. There's a 5mm shaft that goes through here, and the bearings are on the case itself. So the shaft itself comes off, as you can tell, because there you go. This is a diff locker. When you buy it for one of these things. These things are super cheap. So all you do is unscrew it. You can get them anywhere. You don't have to get anything fancy. This was just a cheap one because I really didn't care. All you need is take it off. There you go. Put that to the side. You're gonna find a 32 pitch 32 pitch gear with a 5mm shaft. So I do not have one here, but just to give you an idea, here's the 5mm. Boom, sits right on there, nice and tight, perfect, doesn't wiggle. The only thing you have to do is just see how they made a little baby notch. It's the same thing. You're just gonna figure out where exactly this thing sits to that. That's what you're looking at. Because the shafts are the same. You're just looking to find exactly where this thing sat. Now, it's going to move left to right, obviously. Well, that's when then the shims come in handy. I found shims online. They're all over the place. Just find them. I found these, which are pretty simple. These are just spacers, really. That's all they are, just 5 millimeter holes. They're metal, and that's what I use. They come in different sizes. You can use nylon ones. Just make sure that the big thing you're doing is when you put these spacers in, because remember, this is just, don't worry about the gear, I'm just using the bearing as an example here. These bearings are inside the case. So, if anything touches the outside of the bearing, it's going to bind. The only thing that moves on the bearing is the center. So, as long as this fits in the center and not touching anything on the outside, it's fine. It's not going to do anything. You're just shimming it basically with spacers, or if you want to sit there for a couple hours, these are the spacers that they use for the wheels. They're little metal spacers. Grab a handful. It's up to you. It doesn't really matter. Me, I used both. I had found the right ones. I don't remember which ones I had, but it's, like I said, it's in there. As long as they don't bind. Just don't, make sure when you compress both cases together that there's just a hair of a wiggle room, that it can actually move just a little bit side to side. Not much. We're talking very little. As long as you know there's some kind of play, because you don't want that thing rubbing against it hard. You want a little bit of play and you're good. And that's how you do those for this part. They don't make a metal one of these. I think they did it one time, but they don't sell it anymore. So these were the big problems with the car. You put whatever tires on it, you'll just burn these up. This is the trick. Again, it's 32 pitch. I took a gear. Let's see. I'm just going to grab... I don't have the right gears for it, so... But, this is a 20 tooth, 45 tooth. You can leave the regular main shaft alone. It's fine. It's got a steel gear on it. As long as you could change these two out. Unless you want... They do sell this, I think, still. As a metal one. Not 100% sure, but I thought I saw one, but I said, meh, why even bother? If you want to, go right ahead. You can just... They have a metal one. Switch it out. The idler gears, they don't have metal ones. I've checked, and again, I don't know where they are. So what I do, take a 32 pitch gear, all 32 pitch. Alright, this is obviously not the right size. You need a 20 tooth. 2-0. This is 4-5, 45 tooth. Obviously it's going to come probably a little bigger. It's going to come something like this. Obviously it's not, this is, what is this, 27, this is 27. So, oh, by the way, I shave all my gears, make them lighter. That's just my thing. So anyways, all you're going to do is just, because remember, this thing sits on a 5mm shaft, and the bearings are on both sides of the case. So realistically, this thing's just spinning on its own. This thing's not really, it's in there, but it can spin. Especially if you're using metal, and you're going to have grease in there, it's not going to do anything. Because you don't really have any friction, because you have bearings on both sides holding it. So even if this thing was on the metal stud, there's a little metal rod in there that this thing goes through like that. See how tight this one is, obviously. It's okay. If it spins on it, it doesn't need to lock into place. As long as it goes on. That's all that matters. As long as it doesn't wobble and goes on, it doesn't matter. So what you're going to do, if you're creative, just grind. Take a grinder and just grind it. Cut it. Whatever you got to do to make it the size you want. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be different. Obviously, again, let's see. I have a 32 pitch. See, yeah, it's a different thickness. I get it. But as long as, this piece right here, the one, the shaft that goes in, it's pretty much almost this wide. As long as they're all matched up, it doesn't matter how thick it is. As long as you try to get it as centered as you can. And the same thing when it goes to this. If you got a normal gear, it's going to be probably about this thick. Because I think that's what I bought. It was a 45 tooth. The came, it was like this thick. Just match them up. You can move the shaft left to right once you find the spot where you want it, and then put the little notches in it. As long as they all match up, that's what they look like. Again, these are not, center gear is not the right one, but so that's all you're doing. Pretty simple. Like I said, you're just going to grind it. And there you go. Just grind it smaller. You know, you don't need the set screw in there. Just grind it smaller so the shaft fits through there. And again, you're just spacing it. Use whatever spacer, nylon spacers, along as, you know, like you can tell on the very edge of this, there's a lip there. It's kind of hard to see, but there is a little lip there. That's because that's what goes against the bearing. So this doesn't bottom out. Same thing. Just do the same thing when you put your new flat gear. Basically what it's going to look like. See how flat this is? That's what you're making. You don't have to make it that flat. You can just make it whatever you want. Just make sure the spacing is correct. Use the spacers. Again, you can use these things. I mean, there's a million of them. If you really, you can find them. They're all over the place. As long as you can find them, as long as they're smaller than what, I think the bearings are what, 10 or 11 millimeters? Keep it around 9, you know. If you find one that's a 5 millimeter, you know, somewhere anywhere in that range, just as long as you keep it so it's not too big, so it doesn't bind against anything. And that's all pretty much it, you know. It's pretty simple. Like I said, this thing's pretty bulletproof now. So, I mean, even if you wanted to put it back to just nitro where it was, and you guys are always afraid of destroying these things, you can just do that too. But for mine brushless, I hammered the hell out of this thing, so it's still holding up, and I pretty much haven't shredded one gear yet. They match up perfectly, so just a little tip for you guys. You want to try it out, go right ahead. Thanks for watching, and if any questions, you know, you always hit me up on here, and I'll try to answer the best I can for you. I'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you.